I built a big fantasy city of Lego, but this is only a small part of the huge world that I came up with. Today, I will show you 10 locations with many characters and their own history. Well, with you, as always, pop a Lego, put a royal like, and let's go. In previous videos, I've shown my Lego fantasy city. This large city is inhabited by representatives of different peoples and settlements. Such places always attract a lot of traders from different lands, but the roads running through the western forest are not always safe. First, I built the road itself, detailed it by adding details of grass and different flowers, and of course made several bushes in which our robbers will hide. As a transport, I used a cart from the Lego castle set, filling it with standard items of a trade wagon train and adding several merchants to the caravan. Minifigures, even from such series as Marvel and Star Wars, were perfect for them. Not hoping for luck and fearing to be left without goods, they hired several mercenaries for their protection. Among them there are experienced warriors, a fierce swordsman wargen and a fawn archer who knows the local lands. Such a number of defenders is necessary, because robbers also do not attack alone. I made a whole squad of forest bandits dressed in ragged rags and armed with axes and clubs. Combining everything together, an atmospheric scene from the fantasy world turned out. And who do you think will win? The Western Forest itself is a huge location, occupying a large territory of the southern continent of Caldaria. These forests have become home to many peoples and fabulous creatures: fauns, wargen, elves, humans, and forest centaurs. This location is rich in natural resources, and the forests are saturated with ancient elven magic. Various forest dwellers have also found a home here, such as bears, hares, and deer, which has always attracted many hunters, one of whom, paired with his faithful friend, has just tracked down a young deer. For the location, I used green plates of different shades to build a clearing where forest dwellers come to eat fresh grass. Of course, what a forest without tall majestic trees. To make their crown look thicker and more natural, I used curved details of the branches, as well as the same attachment as the bushes from the previous location. You can decorate a tree by hanging a part of a beehive or building a nest for birds, which I showed in the last video with interesting ideas for homemade crafts. And on one of the branches sits a small squirrel, which recently added to my collection of Lego animals. I supplemented the location itself with a lot of different colors, details of grass and various mushrooms, small forest dwellers, as well as a large stump from very old Lego castle sets. Homemade turned out to be very rich and interesting, but not the coolest of today's list. Let's drive on. Hunting is not the only way to get food among the inhabitants of the fantasy world. Many sailors go to conquer the waters of the Caldaria every day. Building small vessels, they use them in trade, travel, and, of course, in fishing. The ship can easily be made from two ordinary boats connected by their backs. I filled the back of the ship with goods for trade. There is also a huge barrel filled to the top with fish. Fishermen using large nets for catching fish and other marine life are located on the front part. Sometimes, quite strange objects come across in the network. In order to make the lake, I bought a lot of transparent blue parts from Pick-a-Brick, so, in my opinion, the water looks much more interesting. Many of you have been asking in the comments for a long time that I build an underwater location in my fantasy world, and finally it became possible after buying a set from the Harry Potter Black Lake series. I really liked the way the ruins of an ancient structure were made underwater. To make this location more complete and interesting, I increased the area of the bottom of my sea, built a small reef, and added some algae. I didn't have any details to make corals, so turning on my imagination, I chose several parts of ordinary pink foliage, combined them and supplemented them with flowers of the same color. I think I managed to make realistic corals. Having finished detailing the seabed, I began to populate it with underwater inhabitants. There are lobsters and small crabs. Here I added a few fish and a large, dangerous shark, which I bought specifically for my collection of Lego animals. To make the effect of fish swimming underwater, I used all the same transparent details. But even sharks are not the most dangerous inhabitants of this location. Several warring peoples live in the waters of the Dead Sea. For one of them, a mermaid minifigure from the same Harry Potter set perfectly suited, and on the other side is the Sorry People deep-sea humanoid fish. This location can be combined with the previous one and you will get a real underwater world. I like the way I built it so much that now this location is one of my favorites. And you watch to the end and be sure to write in the comments which part of the Caldaria you liked more. I have just heard the news that our merchants have successfully coped with the attack of robbers and have reached the City of Magicians in the Western Forest, which I showed in one of the previous videos. The city square of Karandar is one of the most important trade intersections on the entire southern continent. Merchants from all over the world flock here. Every day a lot of merchant ships and caravans arrive with all kinds of goods, and traveling artists and musicians show their performances on this square every day. In the center there is a majestic statue of the first wizard of the Academy of Magicians and the founder of the city city of Karandar. Below, a fountain beats from the statue in which small ducks bathe, and frogs and other animals have chosen flowers around. Around you can find local farmers selling their crops, merchants selling everything that is possible and what is not, itinerant priests reading their sermons, artists and musicians, guests of the city and, of course, guards. Safety and order are above all. The city was founded on the ruins of an ancient bastion, formerly belonging to the powerful empire of the followers of light. Now it has been restored and turned into a defensive fortification of the defenders of the city. But several hundred years ago, and maybe several thousand, large-scale, bloody battles unfolded right on these lands. The Black Falcon clan, in alliance with the Moon Elves, decided to recapture the western lands, once given by the gods to the elves. As you may have guessed, a set of Lego Lion Castle acts as a bastion. I bought 2 such sets at once and have already started combining them into one large fortress. Now, a real battle has unfolded here. Black Falcons and Moon Elves are besieging the castle. Due to the complexity of the terrain, Falcons use long assault ladders, and to protect the archers, I have made several wooden barricades. The governor of this castle, riding his faithful steed, accompanied by knights, ordered the gates to be opened to give battle to the invader on the main bridge. But the experienced warriors of the Black Falcon have always been distinguished by their knowledge of tactics and consistency in battle. Well, in our time, on the northern continent, where the empire of the followers of light is now located, there are also northern tribes that have not submitted. These are small settlements of fishermen and hunters. However, do not underestimate them. Harsh icy winds harden their warriors, making them the most real harsh berserkers. A detachment of northern hunters is located at this location. I started collecting white parts a long time ago to make a similar DIY. Unfortunately, Easter is already over, and this cute white rabbit will soon also become part of these lands. Using all the same transparent details, I built a small pond nearby, where one of the hunters decided to catch fish for his squad. Hunting dogs are resting nearby, and among the things you can notice all the attributes of the northern inhabitants. By the way, details from the heroes of Star Wars were also useful for them. But the icy wind and polar bears are not the only threat in this location. Right now, a scout from the Yovi people living in the mountain caves of the northern lands is watching the hunting party. Will the dogs smell it, and will the hunters have time to react in time, or will this night be their last? In the opposite part of the Caldaria, on the easternmost part of it, there is a dragon island, a huge, majestic volcano that became the sanctuary and abode of the first dragons. For many millennia, since the ancient war of the gods and dragons, this volcano has been dormant and the war itself has turned into legends. But recently, not without the help of the followers of the dragons, the volcano has reawakened and the island has new owners, fire demons. By purchasing a lot of transparent orange parts on the brickling and taking black ones, which I almost never use, I was able to build a location from burnt stone and rivers of red-hot lava. Now, one of the supreme demon lords is gathering a new, and hitherto unprecedented in size, army to plunge the lands of Caldaria into darkness and chaos again. I will tell you more about them in one of the following videos with the full history of my fantasy world, so be sure to subscribe and click the bell to not miss it. Lately, this had already happened during the ancient war between majestic dragons born from the bowels of the planet and powerful gods formed from the light of the star Argyros. As a result of this great war, most of the eastern lands of the southern continent turned into lifeless, scorched steppes. Now they are inhabited by one of the most vile and dangerous inhabitants of Caldaria, steppe orcs. I have long wanted to build my own location for this faction, but only recently I managed to get to pick a brick to buy the right amount of parts of this color. However, it took me the most time from today's video to build an orc dwelling. Unfortunately, I turned out to have too few suitable parts of the right color. But I think that this hut should look like this, given that there is practically nothing to build it out of in the steppes. Next to the dwelling, in the open kitchen, one of the orcs is preparing dinner for his clan. I decided to make the leader of the settlement out of a necromancer invented by the ChatGPT neural network, which I showed in a previous video. And the main transport of these orcs is steppe wolves that feed on carrion. And at the very bottom of the world of Caldaria are the southern marshes. Recently, here, the troll tribes united under a single banner, capturing and taking control of local territories. The Marantai people who lived here for many centuries were forced to leave these lands and find a new refuge in the city of Karandar. And the remnants of their once great warriors joined the ranks of the defenders of the city. Marantai is another example of how interesting it is to use minifigures from Star Wars. I built the trolls from the figures of the old Castle series and the Muns of one of the seasons of Ninjaga. Swamp trolls patrols use various lizards and dinosaurs as transport. They are well suited both for combat riders and for transporting heavy loads. And at the location, the Union of Clans under the leadership of Zorgal Sticky began to develop the conquered lands and prepare for the construction of a new majestic city that will become the capital of this faction and strengthen the leader's power over the Union of Troll Clans. Don't forget to write in the comments which location you liked more and you would like to see its further development. Well, with you, as always, was Papa Lego, all cool minifigures. See you in the next video.